Confirmation yesterday from the acting police minister, Feroz Kachalia, that the report by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate into the actions of President Cyril Ramaphosa's protectors during the Phala Phala scandal has now been declassified. But the report is not being published. Instead, it appears it can only be accessed through further legal action. The public protector, Kaleka, found that the head of Ramaphosa's security, Wally Roda, acted improperly and recommended that IPID investigate his conduct. Lizzy Suping is the spokesperson for the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. Lizzy, good afternoon to you. What's the current, let's just start here, what's the current status of your report into Phala Phala? It's been declassified, but it's not being published. Is that right?
That's correct, Stephen. The report has been declassified, and it was declassified on the 2nd of February this year. However, it is not available for public consumption. However, anyone who may want to apply for the report will have to then make a prior request to our information officer to be able to have access to the report.
Is there anything stopping IPID from taking a decision to publish it?
This is an investigation report, and like any other investigation report, we never publish our reports to the public, but we just share certain aspects of the report, but we never publish any report to the public. And that is the reason why we are not even publicizing this one to the public.
Okay, and if someone were to lodge a prior application, I presume people have done this in the past. Have you released reports when people have done that?
Yes, we have, but when you do a request, you have to indicate your intention, and then the information officer from IPID will then do an assessment of your application, and then they will advise if you as to whether you qualify to can receive the report or not. But what the public needs to also know is that this report will not be shared in its entirety, because there are some parts of the report that would be edited out or redacted because they contain raw data of some of our witnesses.
Okay, I understand that. I need to ask you a general question now. Why is it that you do not, generally speaking, publish your reports?
They are investigation reports. We use them in court when we go, if it's a criminal matter, when we appear before court. But we never share them, the entire report to the public. But we do share some information to the public, but not the entire report. The report is only shared with the employer if we are asking the employer to take or institute disciplinary actions against their member. But on the other hand, if the case has to appear before court, then that report would be shared with the prosecutor for them to be able to make a decision, and for also to ensure that the matter is on the court road if it's a court matter or a criminal matter. Okay,
I understand the practice as you've explained it to me, but I'm asking why. What is the general principle that says that IPID does not release these reports?
That's part of our work. That's part of our standard operating procedures. We never share the reports.
Okay, I'm sorry, I need more than that. I need to know why you never share the report. It's not just enough to say you don't share the report. Why not?
No, I'm saying that's part of our standard operating procedures. We do not share the investigation reports, but we share information from the reports, because in the reports you have raw data of witnesses. That information cannot be for public consumption, and we hardly share any reports, but we do share information with the public about a particular matter or a particular case without giving them the report.
Okay. The point I'm trying to get to is this. Your job as the Independent Police Investigative Directorate is to investigate what police officers do, right? So a member of the public says, this police officer did this to me, I'm complaining, you investigate, you release the report. Yeah, you don't release the report. Yes, but you
we don't release the investigation.
Let me.
We do not release the investigation report. But we release some information related to the investigation.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get to is, I understand that you may not want to release all of the records of the interviews. That I get. But what stops you as IPID from releasing everything that you can release in every report? Let me put it to you another way. If I were a person who I believed I was the victim of an incident involving a police officer and I complained, I would want to see the full report. I don't see why I wouldn't.
Stephen, we share information that is related to the investigation. If there
but
is
not with me, only with the prosecutor. That's what you said earlier.
No, I'm trying to explain something to you here. We share information with the public, but without giving them the actual report. We are not giving out the actual report of the investigation, but we do share information related to the investigation. That is what we share with the public.
Okay, so just remind me then, what information from your report have you released about Phala Phala?
In terms of Phala Phala, like we said, it's not for public consumption. What we've done, we did our investigation concluded that there was a case to answer by some of those officers that were implicated, and the employer was. We made recommendations, to the employer to take action against the implicated officials, and that is what we have done because we were looking at only the conduct of police officers who handled the matter at Phala Phala. We were not looking at the criminal aspect of of what happened at Phala Phala.
Okay, let me get to my bigger point, and I'm sure you can see where I'm going. We have a major problem with police accountability in this country. We can see that from what's happening at the commissions at the moment, but that doesn't concern our conversation now. And it seems to me that one of the reasons that we have this problem with accountability is that IPID gives the report of an SAPS officer to the SAPS. Only you and they know what really happened, and we, as the public, never really know exactly what happened. And isn't that what leads to the lack of accountability? Isn't that, to be blunt, why the police officers get away with it all the time?
Stephen, your information is incorrect. What we do is we share with the employer the report when we ask them to institute disciplinary sanctions against their employees. With the public, we share certain aspects of the report. And with the prosecutors, obviously, we also share the report with them because they need to make a decision on whether to prosecute or not if it's a criminal matter. But in this instance, we were looking at the police conduct, which meant that we only had to deal with the employer. We have made recommendations to the employer, asking the employer to act against their own because we felt that there was a case to answer. But we will not share the report because that is not practice from IPID that we share the entire investigation report with the public. But we would share certain aspects. That's how we work. We share certain aspects of the report, but we don't share the entire report.
Okay. So I just want to understand, do you follow up with the SAPS to see if they did actually follow up on your recommendations?
Yes, we do follow up, and the IPID Act expects them that once they've received a recommendation from us, within 30 days, they should institute a disciplinary hearing, and then they need to inform us about that process. And at the end of the disciplinary process, they need to come back to us and tell us about the sanction.
Okay, and you follow up on each and every case as IPID?
Every case that we send to the employer where it's a negative recommendation, we do follow up because we expect them to institute disciplinary sanctions against their members.
Lizzy Suping, I appreciate the clarity. Thank you very much indeed. The spokesperson for the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. On the Phala Phala story, well, I'm sure some of the political parties have already told us that they will look at an application under the Promotion of Access to Information Act.